Welcome. I am Baal Kadmon, and I would like to thank you for watching and listening to this podcast. Today I'm going to read a chapter from my book, Lilith Magick. The name of this chapter is Lilith in the Alphabet of Ben Sirach. Enjoy. Lilith in the Alphabet of Ben Sirach. As I stated in the previous chapter, the story of Lilith is largely known because of the Alphabet of Ben Sirach, a text written between 100 and 700 AD. Although it states this book is ascribed to Ben Sirach, it is in fact an anonymously written book. The book itself is divided into 22 chapters, each corresponding to a letter in the Hebrew alphabet and Aramaic alphabet. Each chapter is comprised of various different proverbs followed by commentary. Some of the themes are quite risque for books written in this era. Some topics covered involved incest, masturbation, and passing of wind. Some believe that the content is risque because it is mostly a satirical text. I am not sure there is proof for this, but it is certainly a possibility. Many of these proverbs can be found in the Talmud with some new additions. It's in chapter 5 that we encounter Lilith. Like the other stories of Lilith, she is considered to be sexually deviant, permissive, and dangerously seductive. Oh, and she can fly. Sounds good to me. Here's where things break away from the past writing. It is in this book where we first learn that Lilith was Adam's first wife before Eve was even a glimmer in God's eye. Before we get to her as Adam's first wife, we find her narrative beginning in King Nebuchadnezzar's court, the king of Babylon. In the Alphabet of Ben Sirach, we are told that the king's son is seriously ill. No one has been able to heal him. In desperation, the king calls on Ben Sirach to heal the boy. Instead of giving the boy medicine, he starts invoking the name of the god and creates a talisman with the names of 3 angels who are known for their healing powers, and not just that, but they go on adventures around the world defeating evil spirits, including those of the likes of Lilith who cause sickness and death. The king sees these names in the talisman and asks who they are. Ben Sirach goes on a long-winded explanation in which he not only tells the king about the name of the angels, but goes on about Lilith and how these same 3 angels went after Lilith when she rebelled against Adam. But before he goes into that, he gives Lilith's backstory, and I will quote directly from the text. The angels who are in charge of medicine, Senoi, Sansenoi, and Samengeloth, when God created the first man, Adam, alone, God said, "It is not good for man to be alone." Therefore God created a woman for him from the earth like him and called her Lilith. Soon they began to quarrel with one another. She said, "I will not lie below you." And he said, "I will not lie below you, but above you, since you are fit for being below me and I for being above you." She says to him, "The 2 of us are equal, since we are both from the same earth." They would not listen to each other at all. Lilith in her rage uttered God's ineffable name, Yud-He-Vav-He, and flew away into the air. Adam stood in prayer before God and said, "Master of the universe, the woman you gave me fled away from me." God immediately sent the 3 angels after her, in order to bring her back. God said, "If she wants to return, that is good, and if not, she must accept that 100 of her children will perish every day." The angels pursued her and overtook her at the Red Sea, in raging waters, and told her God's order for her. She refused and did not want to return. They told her that they would drown her in the Red Sea, and she replies, "Leave me alone. I was only created in order to sicken babies. If they are boys from birth to day 8, I will have power over them. If they are girls from birth to day 20. When they heard her reply, they pleaded with her to come back. She swore to them in the name of God that whenever she would see them, or their names, or their images on an amulet, she would not overpower that baby, and she accepted that 100 of her children would perish every day. From that day forth, 100 of her demon children die every day, and because of this, we write the names on talismans of young children. When Lilith sees them, she remembers her promise, and the child is protected from her wrath. So in all actuality, she simply refused to be in the missionary position, and because of that, Adam threw a hissy fit, and apparently so did the angels. In my estimation, she was unjustly cursed because her intention was not to control or rule over Adam. She simply was exerting her equal rights considering that they were created from the same substance. When she saw Adam was not cooperating in her rage, she spoke the four-letter name of God. In Jewish tradition, that name is so holy that it is forbidden to pronounce. Thus, when she said the name, she essentially took God's name in vain, which is a big no-no in the Bible. Which seems odd because the Bible didn't really exist yet, but that's another story altogether. Because she uttered the name, she was deemed unfit to return to Eden. All is not lost because as she pronounced the name, she developed supernatural abilities. She doesn't only gain the ability to fly, but she is transformed into a different person by this experience. She becomes supernatural. As a side note, it is said that if someone can recite the four-letter name of God correctly, they too will gain supernatural powers, and some even say the universe itself might actually implode. Another interesting thing to note is that she makes a deal with the angels, and by extension God, that to prevent her from being drowned, she will not kill babies who have the talisman bearing her name. They accept this deal, which makes me think she has a lot more divine clout than one would suspect. She was so sinful, they could have just destroyed her right there. What's even more interesting is, at first, God does offer to take her back despite her committing such a grievous sin. God is usually not that forgiving, especially when his name is taken in vain. I wonder if this means that Lilith may have a special place in the supernal realms. I don't know, but it is interesting to think about. So it is in this book that we get the interesting tale of Lilith and her relationship not only to Adam, but also to mankind. In the next chapter, I will examine Lilith within the context of the Jewish mystical tradition, more specifically the books called the Zohar. There you have it, a chapter from my book, Lilith Magick. The book is available on Kindle, paperback, and audiobook. I hope you enjoy it. So mote it be.